Thank you very much, Mr. Amitabh joining us today, Mr. Mayank joining us today. It's a very interesting discussion which we are going to have today. I think after strategy, there is a word which is prevailing across the globe is called something called AI. Not even people are saying properly artificial intelligence. Everybody started saying AI now. According to me, I think both from an organization perspective, government perspective, and many of the socio sort of organizations are banking on artificial intelligence as such. It came into foray because Gen AI, I mean generative AI, which came out as a lot of people can now converse with it. Even my kid, your kids, I'm sure would be doing a conversation with chat GPTs of the world and so. And similarly, there are other models emerging as we speak. Every day, there is a new model which is coming up. Large language models and so. And using that, people are sort of forecasting and speculating that it's going to impact us across the globe. Just like the internet impacted us in an era in 2000. And in 2011, we are talking internet things, and now we are talking AI. And all of these together is going to create the biggest industrial revolution we have seen across the globe. With this as a big promise, I've definitely introduced yourself from an organization perspective, and would like to know your viewpoints. What are your viewpoints? What are your thoughts across the world? Amitabh, I'm going to start with you.
I'm Amitabh Nag. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Digital India Bhashini Division. It is an independent business division under Digital India Corporation and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. We are the implementing agency for National Language Translation Mission, which has been recoined as Mission Bhashini. Right? And what we are trying to do here is our fundamental job is to transcend the language barrier, means bridge the language barrier and go beyond to ensure that the benefits reaches to the last mile. And our motto is to make the society inclusive. When you make the society inclusive, it gets empowered, right? And that is basically by ensuring that we don't have language as a barrier for education, collaboration, innovation, discovery, and our day-to-day work. So we have to be pervasive in the sense that we have to get into every possible dimension of our daily work environment so that it is, the language does not remain a barrier.
It's a mammoth exercise, I'm sure, and specifically like a country like India where language, changes every sort of 100 kilometers, I would call it. It's going to be a task of its own. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Amitabh, with more questions on it. Mayank, thank you for being with us today. I'm sure introduce yourself as well from an HPE perspective, but also talk about your viewpoint on the AI front.
Thank you, Shalil, for inviting me. My name is Mayank Chaturvedi. I head the public sector sales at HPE in India. I am director there, and my role and responsibility at HPE is to drive HPE's business value proposition in the public sector segment, which is to do with the central government, state government, a lot of other research institutes. Our point of view on AI is that we are seeing this world changing fast. They're fast becoming AI driven, and in fact, we have an access to a survey which was done by an agency, which had contacted various governments across the world on the AI adoption. And with that survey, we came to know that North American countries seem to be leading the AI adoption because they are actually implementing AI operations in the many real-time areas. European and Asian countries are also not far behind.
Sure.
They have also adopted AI, and around 50 governments across the globe have either developed an AI strategy or are in the process of developing the AI strategy.
I think you've thrown some good numbers, Mayank. 13 trillion is at least 5 times to many other countries' GDP, I would call it this way.
Yeah.
So it is a huge promise. And whenever I think technologies have promised us, more or less they have delivered on that. Whether it has taken a little more time or a little less time, it depends on how the adoption has been. I'm coming to you, Amitabh. I think you said Bhashini and breaking the language barrier across the board. AI is not new. I mean, though people are saying generative AI and etc., I think it's been there for ages. It's there. And why do you think that combining the capabilities of artificial intelligence now that we have the large language models, with Bhashini as one of the objectives coming up, right, is the right sort of combination, is the right way to move forward?
Yeah, so of course, as you said, AI has been there for very long. Language translation has been there in some form or the other for pretty long. People have been using automation or computers to do the language translation. And Gen AI, in some form or the other, if you talk about reasoning engines, you talk about analytical engines, there are some amount of flavors of that in Gen AI also. Now, what are we at the end of the day servicing? What we are trying to do is that we are trying to build solutions. Private sector is building the solutions to increase the reach.
Yep.
Go to more people so that more people can use them, buy them, pay for it, and the commercialization increases, or to reduce the cost. And
True.
that again requires communication, getting across to the places where the labor is cheap, where the things are available, and you need to communicate it all through. Now, whatever we do in Gen AI currently is limited by the data which we have on internet, and which is predominantly in very few languages.
Yes.
And those languages, when you are trying to use Gen AI in those languages, you obviously need to translate to reach the last mile and ensure that it is understood by the last people. So from that perspective, Bhashini with Gen AI is a right combination, because it is able to translate to the last mile. I'll give you an example.
Please.
We have deployed a chatbot for farmers for Ministry of Agriculture, along with Ministry of Agriculture as partners. Now, PM Samman Nidhi has a direct benefit transfer at a periodic intervals, right? And that transfer may or may not reach all the 9 crore farmers who are supposed to be supposed to get it. Even if 1% do not get it at the right time, or do not have a challenge in some form or the other,
Sure.
It is a 9 lakh whopping number as far as people are concerned. Now, for them, the chatbot actually helps the farmer to ask a question in his own vernacular language, saying that bhugtan nahi mila. I'm using Hindi for better understanding.
Absolutely, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Saying bhugtan nahi hua, and after some authentication, the machine would be responding to say that okay, आपका भुगतान नहीं हुआ क्योंकि आपका आधार नंबर अकाउंट से लिंक नहीं था, या आपका जमीन की पंजीकरण में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. So all of that is actually now done. So it's a combination of translation, automatic speech recognition,
Sure.
text to the text to text translation, because the backend systems are in a language which is not the native language which was spoken to, and then finding out the reason from the database, and then communicated back by changing the language to the language in which the person can understand. So your entire cycle of a grievance redressal is managed through these multiple hops. So translation is an important activity in that situation.
I'm sure you heard what Amitabh has been saying, Mayank. I mean, HPE is a global company. I'm sure these kind of problems and issues HPE must be solving for other customers as well within the AI perspective. Largely, you play in the infrastructure side. How are you positioned to build on it?
So, Shalil, first correction.
Okay.
We're not limited to infrastructure. We are
Sure.
beyond that.
Okay.
And that is what we have been transforming for the last 5-6 years. And
Okay.
I'll try to break that so-called myth possibly as we move ahead in the conversation.
Please.
Yes, there are a lot of use cases in AI, and there are a limit up to which you can count them. I think Amitabh mentioned some of the good use cases in the agriculture sector. This today's digital economy, I think, as they say, data is the new currency, which is a foundation block of an AI ecosystem. But again, as far as data alone is not good enough. We also need to focus on digitizing workflows, driving efficiencies, and making sure that this data is accessed in an effective and efficient way so that meaningful insight can be given to the decision makers. That's again a core to the AI and the basic outcome which an AI in a person expects from an AI. Just think about it for a moment, right? These insights create innovation, which have an immense power to advance the way we live and work. And that has been one of the main strategies of HP. And let me give you some examples of the customers with whom we have worked across the globe in terms of how they're shaping their future. The first one which I would want to highlight is that we have worked with a company, an organization who's analyzing the ocean's natural cycle to unleash the unlimited potential of renewable energy. Okay, this company's name is Carnegie Clean Energy. It's an Australian-based company who are working on the source of renewable energy, and it is said that the energy available on the shores of ocean is 5 times
more than the
5 times the total energy what we consume today. Just imagine, how beautiful is Earth can become if we can explore and unleash this potential from the ocean. We're working with them. We have actually given them an analytical platform and also, of course, the supercomputers to achieve what they want to achieve. The second company which I want to highlight is to do with powering the real-time decision making to make this autonomous driving safer than ever before.
Yes.
This company's name is Zinsiact, who are into self-driven cars. They perform. They made the models, which is today analyzing thousands of petabytes of data, and which are supposed to do 10,000 safety simulations every second. And that's the type of humongous platform which is needed, the compute power which is needed, and the analytical platforms, and of course the AI platform, which we have actually collaborated with them. The third one is to do with NASA when they have sent a space-borne supercomputer in the International Space Station to study the harsh conditions of space. You'll be happy to hear that this supercomputers today is delivering 1 teraflop, which is 1 trillion transactions per second, to do edge analytics in this space. And there are multiple use cases. They are just the highlight, the major ones which I have highlighted. You can reinvent the healthcare to extend people's life by giving them more and productive, healthy living. N number of use cases are there, but yes, AI is everywhere, and there are people with whom I'm sure everybody must be working to ensure that they achieve what they want to achieve.
It is amazing to hear all of these examples, right? And we want to be there as leapfrog and as a country like India. And I think what Amitabh said makes sense, because we may have this kind of a technology which says that, okay, I'll give you sort of extend your life because the healthcare is given to you, but I only understand vernacular language. So I need to understand how to go about it. Even if I have to follow a diet plan, I need to know what diet plan is. I mean, I can't read the diet plan in English, right? If I am only requiring a language there. It's a fantastic impact across the board. I mean, I would not say it at a social level only. I think it's an economical level impact. People will get more inclusive in the economy itself, because then they will have access to more information, which they can use it to reskill themselves. And not only reskill themselves, deploy those skills for a better sort of economic agenda. So I see the potential. I'm so excited personally about it. But there are 3 vectors to it, which we need to discuss it, I think. One vector is the impact. Where is the impact you see in the short term to a long term perspective, Amitabh? I think the second vector which we will talk about is it requires humongous amount of data to be computed and powered and so and so. So I'll discuss with you, both of you, on that side. And third, we should not ignore the data privacy and security. All of that will come into play. First, the impact, Amitabh. I want to really know from Bhashini, what's the impact we are looking at to create?
See, if you summarize the impact, it can be in different ways.
Sure.
But, at the end of the day, if you actually look at it, if Bhashini becomes ubiquitous, that means everything which I do, I don't have a barrier of language. Then I think we have achieved our goal to
the vision we create.
Right? Now, language as a barrier, if we cover the digital divide, it's all the more better.
Yeah.
If we cover the literacy divide, then we have done more than what we were supposed to do. Now, we perhaps have to look at the impact from a persona perspective, right? if I look at a person on the last mile who is perhaps not literate or perhaps is speaking his own language, doesn't understand any other thing, the impact for him would be that if he is able to get his entitlement, get his services and get the work done by speaking out what he wants to do.
True.
Right? And towards that, there is a lot of work which we are trying to do, and there is a lot to be done.
Got it. So I can see the short term, what you're thinking as direct impacts. I'm sure long term is to create a non-barrier language sort of institutions and across the board.
Yeah, so as I said, when I started pointing out initially, can I, for all the things, everyone, can I just, create an impact by all the 1.4 billion, people in this country, speak their own language and do their transactions, whatever
and still able to work
still
through,
able to work,
right?
work, gain knowledge, collaborate, invent, discover, whatever they are doing, they don't have the additional burden of learning one more language to actually be successful in life.
Absolutely.
If I think that summarizes it all.
It requires humongous amount of sort of compute power. It requires not only, train the model, because, we don't have simple languages, we have complex languages, right? And we are not talking just one language. I'm sure the number of languages we are not talking about in Bhashini would be in sort of numbers there, right? Now, for that, we require a different approach to whole organization sort of compute power, looking at AI power. How do we go about that? That's a very brass track question, but implementation is going to take.
See, anything which would basically have AI models and, the inferencing requirement which is there would require a compute power and would require us to, build that infrastructure, right? Having said that, that is not a constraint to start an activity and start working about it. I think government is quite aware of that, and also our large private organizations are quite aware of that there is infrastructure which would be required for these solutions to actually see the light of the day.
You would be working like a public-private partnership, or you would be looking at a structure emerging differently?
For means that's a different domain that does not fall in my purview. Of course, I am taking as there is an infrastructure which is getting developed by the ecosystem which I would be using. But as I said, the system is aware of that and is working towards that to take it forward. So obviously it's a huge setup, and government will not be able to do everything is also clear. So there's a work which is going on.
Absolutely. These requires supercomputers. Let me say this way. Mayank, I'm sure your experience from working in other geographies as well as in India. In India also you've been working for quite some time. And I'm sure you work with government and other departments and states and central governments a lot. But this is a very different animal, right? You've been worked system of records and all that. But this animal which we are talking about is one training of a model would require at least thousands of variables to be trained real time, right? We are not talking CPUs, GPUs, we always talk these days, right? We're talking about. What's your viewpoint? I will come to the security part in the last, but I just wanted to understand what's your viewpoint on that side. How do you solve?
Yeah, I think, you spoke, thanks for highlighting the fact that in infrastructure and computing is important. And yes, that's a reality. See, the AI is not about LLM alone, right? Because, of course, LLM is the main force which will eventually deliver AI. But there is a lot which is going behind the scenes, which will run and train these large language models. AI ecosystem is a convergence of many technologies.
True.
And the core to making a successful AI ecosystem depends on some of the foundational technologies. Number one, I think, is data, which I've covered in brief earlier in the conversation. Data, as you know, is a foundation block of AI. And there are enough and more proof points to establish the fact that data is going to be the fulcrum for all the transformation and innovations you're going to see in the years to come. Becoming data-driven today is not a necessity. It's a matter of survival. as our CEO says, that very soon you will see the value of data being mentioned as an asset in the balance sheet of every organization, and that's the importance of data, which all the organizations are giving. So to have an effective AI ecosystem or efficient AI ecosystem, one needs to have a very robust strategy on data acquisition, on data analytics, and data security, which you also touched.
Yeah.
We have made all our innovations on our storage solutions, whether it is to do with storing the data or managing the data or protecting the data or analyzing the data. We all have all the solutions around them, which will give you a platform to do that analytics and also maintain the security of the data. The second point is very important, which is supercomputing, right? These AI models will not run on the normal computers which you use in the data center.
Such kind of vast models can't run. Yeah.
That's right. Eventually, AI is an HPC workload. It's a high performance computing workload, which we have been doing for many years.
Yeah.
It typically needs an exascale system. Exa is 18, which means a computing power of 10 raised to the power of 18 transactions per second. That's almost equal to the capability of a brain, of a human brain, right? So that is the type of exascale system what you would be needing to run and train these models. We have been doing that a lot of HPC workloads, and I think that today the fastest supercomputer in the world, which is 1.6 exaflops, is built by HP, and we have the strong prowess of building such petaflops or exascale systems across the globe for last 3 or 4 decades. So supercomputing is important, and we've been doing it. The last, which is also important, is energy efficiency. Imagine the type of energy which is needed to run those supercomputers. I
was about to say that. Yeah,
it is, and we are talking of some 30 terawatt, which is equal to the annual energy consumption of a country like Netherlands or Sweden, right? So it is humanly impossible to kind of manage those supercomputers if you do not bring those innovations. Air-cooled systems definitely is not going to serve the purpose. It has to be liquid cooled systems, which will bring and deliver a PUE of 1.0. This is a power utilization efficiency, and those are the liquid cooled systems which we are focused on to ensure that these HPC or AI workloads are running successfully and give the right solutions, keep the energy in control, and also keep your energy bills within the respectable.
So nice. It's amazing to see that. But dichotomy is always there. We have these public cloud players coming up with us today in country. I think, and there is no other player left in the country to be entry. I think most of the players are doing the businesses. How do you think this world is going to work together?
So I mean, the public cloud, what you say is correct. I mean, but the problem what we're seeing with our engagement with the government is that the problem of data security or data sovereignty, right? Not everything can go out. Forget out from the country, but from the data center also. That is one thing which we've been hearing from the government, and that is one part of it, the data security. The second part, not all the workloads and applications today are in public cloud. Only and it's a very open fact that only 30% applications today which organizations use are on public cloud. The remaining 70% are not, because of the different issues, right? Because they are mission critical, or they have legacy issues, or some of the latency issues. They can't be put in public cloud. So this creates an uneven operating model. Half of the applications are on public cloud, and 70% are not. So how to bring this 70% applications, or how to bring this cloud experience to the remaining 70% applications? You don't have to go to public cloud for that, because we are bringing cloud to you wherever you are and wherever your applications and data live. And we bring cloud to your main data center, or a remote data center, or a center of data which is there in a remote office. Whether there are 2 locations or 20 locations, small or big, we will bring this cloud to you wherever you are. And it's simple math, right? It's easier to bring this cloud to your data rather than you sending your data to the cloud, because you get into the security and other issues also. So that's what we have been innovating on, which is called the Green Lake model for us. And with that model, we can actually set up the cloud in the government premise, and to ensure that data doesn't goes out, and that is built as per their design, as per their choice.
Fantastic. So I can, bank on saying that you have a public cloud, but in my premises.
It's a cloud on your premise.
In my
it's
premises.
not a public cloud.
Oh, sorry. It's a cloud on my premises.
Yeah.
I know people get confused that way.
Yeah.
But and I'm sort of last part of our discussion, and I talked really a big challenge today, and we have the law almost there, right? I mean, data protection law is almost there now. Department should sign up any time, I must say. If that bill comes up, I think we are looking at a very different data security issues and data privacy issues coming to all of us. While Bhashini is going to be the core, I mean, people are going to share, while speaking, they're going to share their code numbers and Aadhaar numbers and, their insurance numbers. And I'm just giving an example. I mean, this could be the big issue when you formulate sort of an architecture, formulate a sort of a design there. What's your viewpoint on that, and how are you sort of thinking around?
So I think you answered it. It's a question of architecture, right? And if you actually look at it, the consent-based architecture is prevailing in all the DPIs.
Yes.
And that needs to get modified to some extent to adapt to this bill.
Yeah.
But I guess that, that instead of taking that as a problem, what we have to take that as an opportunity to actually put guardrails around our system.
Sure.
And I think that should not be an issue, excepting that you need to be, as you said, architecturally more clear. You need to involve the user and take user into confidence before you are actually using his own data.
True.
Right, and which is the right thing to do. We should not actually take it.
That will change substantially now.
That should change substantially, and it is important that we go through that journey of taking user into confidence before you use their data or what they do, etc. Right. So that's very important. And then it is, of course, the technical issues which we have to take care of, which is definitely a part of, again, an architecture.
So, Shalil, in my fit, I think, what Amitabh has said, that there is a process which is being laid down. There is an intent to build some ecosystem.
Yeah.
I think we believe that, with technology, process and people, fair and process of technology is a given fact that you have to have the right ones. I think extremely important are the people. Which I'm referring to the skills what you have, because if we do not have the skills to sustain that type of ecosystem and deliver that outcome what we envisaged at the beginning of the inception of that project, I think the entire ROI will go for a big toss.
Yeah.
So that is where we have invested. We have been innovating and investing a lot. We have a services arm of HPE called HPE Point Next, because there are two problems which we are facing in the industry on the skills part. One, there is a dearth of people who are skilled on AI, and number two, which is a bigger problem, is how to retain them for a longer time and during the project duration, right? So these are the two problems which we have been actually observing in most of the government projects, which are the critical ones which have executed. You talked about some Aadhaar, you talked about the digital sensors, you talked about some of the building the clouds, right? So this sustainability and providing the right skills during the ongoing or during the project duration is extremely important. We are upgraded our skills on the AI front on this particular front also, and this Point Next today delivers all the implementation, integration, and ensuring that we are getting the sustained outcome from that particular solution design or environment what we have envisaged at the beginning of the project.
I think what I'm hearing is both of you saying that it is engineered and it is by design, right? It's not being just, that we need to go faster on a Bhashini so we can take a trade-off onto a security and data or a sort of a privacy side. I think it's by design we are doing it that way, so that it's enabled, it puts the highway in place and we can sort of, faster accelerate on that. Good things I'm hearing. I'm so happy, I'm so excited personally. These are the initiatives I'm not finding anywhere in the world, let me tell you. These Bhashini is one of the biggest initiatives, I would say. It's very unique, very innovative in nature, looking at a problem which country has. I mean, this is not a problem which Western world had it. I mean, they have
taking cue, and sorry to interrupt actually, taking cue from what you're saying, that this is being done uniquely in the country. See, Bhashini has obviously, uniquely in the country because it's trying to challenge ourselves to bring in those 22 languages. And mind you, the would like to, highlight what we have traversed through as far as challenges is concerned. About, half of our languages do not have digital data.
Yes.
And AI models require digital data for training. So we have built up an expertise to collect digital data, not anywhere done in the world till today.
Yes.
That expertise is actually working. The second thing which we have done is about getting, the fact that we have worked with about 70 odd research institutes to build this AI model. Again, uniquely bringing so many research organizations together to actually kind of research crowdsourcing, so as to say. Of course, there were investments involved.
That's massive.
That's massive, right? That's a uniquely doing it. And
Very
then
innovative.
we are rendering this to the market through an inferencing platform, which is scaling up and down on the cloud. So a lot of things which are uniquely discovered during this journey. And when we are going far, when we are trying to say that we are challenging ourselves, we are actually going to look at, we are challenging ourselves to do real-time speech translation. And real-time is the key word, right? We had been doing translation offline for a very long time.
Very long time.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are challenging ourselves, and that's the important point, that the system is challenging itself to go to the next level of things and uniquely.
See, most of the things this country has done is very uniquely, because our problems are very unique. I mean, if you look at Aadhaar, Aadhaar was very uniquely done.
Right.
Social security is not equal to Aadhaar. Aadhaar is now much more than what a social security would have been, right?
Absolutely.
Then you look at NPCI. We never thought NPCI or UPI, which we refer it commonly, would be such a big, huge success in the country like India. And today, even smallest person of a Rediwala will use an UPI to always professionals who are using it. So UPI is a great success if you look at it. So I'm hoping, and why I'm saying this, because today other countries have started adopting the architectural or the design which UPI refers to. Now they are going, so it's the outside adoption happening to our innovation, rather than we are copying an innovation from outside, let's say. So Bhashini is one of them, and you proved it by saying, so many, we're collecting data into multi-languages, we are crowdsourced the research part of the algorithms, and we are now putting it up and down on the cloud side. Fantastic to hear of that. Great to see, and my best wishes going forward, and to you as well, Mayank. I'm sure, all of these people need to come together as an ecosystem to make it a big success. I always believe in that. With this, thank you very much for the time. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.